I was pretty worried going into Daredevil Born Again. I wasn't sure how it could actually live up to the original show, something that I personally love so much. And while I don't think it's as good as seasons 1 or 3 of original Daredevil, I'm still really happy with Born Again. I was there every week, as soon as every episode came out, just happy to be watching Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock again. And I do think that as a standalone season of TV, this is pretty good. Like, it's not bad, but it could have been better. And I do feel good saying that I think moving forward, it will be better. But this show really had a lot going against it. Born Again had the very hard job of continuing the original show and bringing it to the MCU. It wasn't just making a few more references and having some cameos. It meant they had to leave behind the extreme groundedness and lean more into the extraordinary. Make it believable that Daredevil is fighting on the same level as an Avenger. So the vibe is definitely different from the original show, and that's not necessarily bad. I do like Daredevil being able to swing around the city with his silly little stick. I think it's fun, and honestly, I wish they leaned more into the MCU side of things. I don't mean in like a, oh, he's right behind me kind of way, though. Like, I just don't think they should be afraid of being more. Because again, I love the original show, and Born Again is a terrible continuation of that show. Specifically, season 3 of that show. Right? Let me break it down a little bit. So what we have here is a story where one of the most important people in Matt's life is murdered, and that leads Matt to, in the heat of the moment, throw his enemy off a building, which should have led to their death, but conveniently didn't, so Matt doesn't have to live with actually murdering someone. But even just the thought that Matt was pushed to that point, Matt decides to leave Daredevil behind, constantly claiming he doesn't need it. But he keeps doing Daredevil things, and eventually does become Daredevil again. That is essentially Matt's arc in Born Again. But it's also Matt's arc in Daredevil Season 2 and The Defenders. Like, beat for beat, it is that exact same story. I will say, I do like it a little more here, because I didn't love Defenders, and I think giving Matt all of the runtime of this show helps show the depth of this arc. But I already don't like that we're just getting the same story again. It's even worse with the context of Daredevil Season 3, right? You're watching Born Again, and Matt's all like,
you know, and sometimes this all feels fake.
Yeah, because in Season 3, you were like,
I'd rather die as the devil and live as Matt Murdock.
We know that Matt Murdock is Daredevil kind of over anything else. He can't help it. So why are we trying to do this again? Another thing is Matt's relationship with Fisk. How they act towards each other in Born Again is at least more believable if Season 3 never happened. The entire third season was, will Matt kill Fisk? In 3 1-hour-long, 13-episode seasons, Matt and Fisk only interact face-to-face 5 times. In Season 3 specifically, they only face off at the very end. So the entire season is just this tension with the possibility of Matt killing Fisk, and not an in-the-moment pushing someone off a building. It's an extremely premeditated act of violence that would result in Fisk's death. So, after basically the entire season building up to that, we get this.
That this city rejected you. It beat you. I beat you.
God, it's one of my favorite comic book superhero moments ever. So to go from all of that to them just like having a cup of joe, laughing about that time he got shot in the eye, really just doesn't sit well with me. I can buy it. Maybe. If it happens after Season 2 of Daredevil. But not Season 3. I also think the Punisher stuff fits better if it happens immediately after Season 2 of Daredevil. The last time we saw Punisher at the end of his show, he was very much the Punisher. But if you look at Frank at the beginning of the Punisher show, or just, you know, at the end of Daredevil Season 2, Frank is not the Punisher. He's doing that. I just really think Born Again is a much better continuation from Daredevil Season 2, and that's just going to be my headcanon. Like, yeah, there are a few things like Nelson, Murdock, and Page, and the painting, and the big one being Bullseye, right? And those are kind of hard to ignore, but in my head, I can make it work. So with my brain finally being able to accept that and look at Born Again as more of an MCU Daredevil show and less of a continuation of the old one, it's looking a lot better to me. Like I said, I like how this story plays out a lot more than how it played out in Defenders. I feel like Matt leaving behind Daredevil makes a little more sense here with the loss of Foggy. And, you know, crime rates seem to be going down, as well as even more heroes are out on the streets. So, there's less of a need for Daredevil. And I really like seeing Matt fight the urge to be Daredevil. I know this bank episode didn't do anything for the plot, but I had so much fun with it. Seeing Matt being just the most Matt Murdock. Like, oh, he's playing dumb and blind, but he's also being the smartest guy in the room, and he's doing the whole law thing. Like, I know the law better than anyone else. And they're like, shut up, law guy. And then they point their guns at him, and he's like, I'm the man without fear. He doesn't say that, but that's what he's doing. And then watching him take them all down and basically just be Daredevil while telling himself, no, I don't need to be Daredevil. Like, I had a lot of fun with that. I also just love the normal lawyer stuff, just trying to get this guy parole and the entire White Tiger case, right? I love all of that. But clearly, Matt's been struggling with this. So when he finally puts the suit back on and goes after Muse, it feels great. He's finally back, and all of that pent-up anger that we've been seeing build and just exist inside of him, it all coming out right there is so cool. It's awesome. I really like the cinematography, but I cannot ignore how much I despise when the aspect ratio changes. Oh, they're doing a cool way to show his powers. I don't care. It's distracting and dumb. Don't do it. I think if there's any real criticism I have towards this show, it's that 9 episodes, realistically 8, was not enough for what they wanted to do. Sure, the original Netflix run may have been a bit slow at times, but it was always able to make sure basically every character was compelling and played an important role in the story. Season 3 was able to introduce Nadeem and Poindexter and Maggie and give them all incredible stories while continuing the stories of Matt and Foggy, Karen, and Fisk. Born Again introduced a bunch of new characters and honestly did not do any of them justice. I don't know or care about most of these characters. Who are you and why aren't you Brett Mahoney? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? And who are you? And who are you? Also, why are you? And why are you? And why are you? And why are you? And especially, why are you? Boy, oh boy, do you suck. And I'm so glad we're supposed to think she sucks. Like, this isn't an Amber from Invincible thing where you aren't supposed to hate Amber. Like, it just kind of happened to people. Like, they just hated Amber. Heather is now working for Fisk. We are supposed to not like her. Also, you can't go work for the guy and, I assume still be his therapist. That's definitely crossing a line. You can't be a therapist to someone who is currently employing you, who is technically your boss. Like, you can't do that.
Seriously considering going, are you?
I mean, why wouldn't I?
Just so many codes of ethics, breaking down why it's so important that you keep your relationships with your clients professional. Like, he shouldn't be inviting you to these kinds of things, and he definitely shouldn't know where you or your boyfriend live and or just are at any time. You are supposed to be a bubble that exists outside the rest of the world, so you have no bias towards anything he shares with you. That's what therapy and a therapist is supposed to be, just a way to escape the rest of the world and get it all off your chest, and you don't have to feel any pressure. You don't have to be worried about it. It's never going to get out. It's just for you. It's just to exist in this little space outside of the rest of the world. All of this is very much crossing boundaries, and you're a terrible therapist and kind of just a terrible person because of it. Like, who's reading your book? Who thinks you're a good therapist? You're not. I can tell you right now, you're not. Your boyfriend, who claims to love you, very uncomfortable with your client knowing where he lives for good reason. And you are not respecting that at all. Kind of weird. Kind of weird that you don't respect Matt Murdock, the man who was publicly responsible for taking down Wilson Fisk the first time around. Also kind of weird how openly anti-vigilante you are to a guy who is so clearly pro-vigilante. Matt Murdock, the guy who defended the Punisher. Matt Murdock, the guy who defended former vigilante turned private investigator Jessica Jones. Matt Murdock, the man who went to LA to defend a professional superhero costume designer. Matt Murdock, the man who just defended Hector Ayala, aka the White Tiger, who was also immediately killed after being found innocent. So, kind of not cool of you to be so anti-vigilante around Matt right after all of that went down, especially for a therapist who is supposed to be one of the most open to other feelings people in the world. If you couldn't tell, I'm majoring in psychology at the moment. That's why all this pisses me off so much. But don't worry, I know what's pissing most of you off the most.
Muse tried to kill you, Daredevil saved you.
I saved me.
Sure, you were definitely responsible for shooting Muse, but you would also be very dead without Daredevil, so that's, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. For someone who knows how everything went down and is claiming,
I saved me.
are you really cool with the news running with the story that it was Fisk's anti-vigilante task force that took down Muse, even though, for a fact that they had nothing to do with it? Right? Like, for someone who's, so proud of saving herself, kind of weird that you would go work for the guy who's claiming that you didn't, but sure, why not? Muse is the obvious choice for a character who deserved more screen time, but after him, if I'm given more time to any character, I'm giving it to Heather. And that's not in a way of like, oh, I really want more Heather, I don't really give a shit. But on my rewatch of Born Again, watching this scene, she did that. There was purpose behind it. It almost seems like she needed to be the one to do that. She needed to be the one to put Muse down. She needed to save herself. I get the feeling that she has a really dark history with vigilantes. Hopefully we'll get an explanation in the next season, but it really does seem like this wasn't nothing. This was very much something. If a therapist has their own unresolved issues in their personal lives, they might end up projecting some of those issues onto their clients. So maybe that's what's pushing her so hard into the masked vigilantes are deranged criminals as opposed to trying to understand them a little more. You would think someone who is professional at talking to people about their feelings wouldn't insult a mentally unstable man who just tied them to a chair and is gonna use their blood to make art. That's kind of weird, but not as weird as how willing the task force, which was just a bunch of Punisher fans, were to be fighting the Punisher and possibly kill him. Everyone shitting on this dude at the end, calling him an idiot and complaining about that. You're an idiot. He is very much an idiot, but that shit makes so much sense. If you idolize a dude to the point you're getting his fucking insignia tattooed on your neck, you would be losing your shit if he was in front of you. This scene sucked. Because this is not how any of this would go down. All of these guys would be like, oh my god, guys, it's actually him. It's actually Frank Castle, the Punisher. Oh my god, he's right here. He's here in front of us, guys. Oh my god, do you think he likes my skull? That's how that would go. That's how all of them would be talking. They would not be fighting him or beating him while he's tied to a chair. They're just Punisher simps. All simps want is that attention from the person they love. He can do literally anything to them, and they would love it. They would be begging this man to break their arms, okay? They'd be lining up for that shit. So this is stupid. And I really need them to dive deeper into how Frank feels about these guys. Not just a couple, one-offs about it. I was a little disappointed when we didn't get the speech from the comics, but also I think we will get it later. So I'm not too upset by it not being here, but I'm gonna be upset until I get it, Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited for more Daredevil, and I will say a big part of that is this being in the MCU, right? But that also kind of scares me because being in the MCU is one hell of a double-edged sword. I am very excited to see Matt interact with more people from the MCU, but there are gonna be a lot of restrictions. Born Again ends with Matt getting ready to take on Fisk's anti-vigilante task force with about 6 cops and Karen Page. This is absolutely nothing, and Matt's gonna need some real help. I think the obvious ones are gonna be Punisher, Swordsman, New White Tiger, probably Echo. Bullseye is weirdly up in the air because he seems pretty anti-Fisk, but I don't know if that means he would go join Daredevil. I don't know if he's equally anti-Daredevil or if it just kind of wouldn't matter. So I'm definitely curious to see where he ends up. I would personally love to see the Defenders come back. Jessica Jones, Luke Cage. I'm not even opposed to bring back Iron Fist, but I also wouldn't be disappointed if he didn't come back. But I do think bringing him back makes it more likely that we'll get Colleen Wing. So, I guess bring Iron Fist back to give me Colleen. I also just in general have more faith that they'll get the Defenders to show up over some other MCU heroes. I'm thinking there are a few options that make sense within the world of the MCU, but probably won't happen because of real-world complications. I think Kate Bishop, the character, would want to come back and fight Fisk again, seeing as how they already have a bit of a history now. But I don't know that the MCU wants her to stay street level, right, with her being recruited by Kamala at the end of the Marvels. And the other one is Spider-Man. I don't know if they can work that out with Sony, or if they can even get Tom Holland to do a TV show. And I don't really want to see this story brought to the movies. Like, I like it being here, like, in a TV show form, because then it just has more time to breathe and develop. And I think a movie or even a trilogy wouldn't do this the justice that I think a TV show could actually do for the story. I saw someone bring up Moon Knight, and as much as I would love that, the dude was fighting gods and controlling the moon, so he might be a little too big for this. We also got some other characters who are definitely too big for this, but it also makes too much sense for them to come help Matt. Like, I'm sure Matt could just get on the phone like, hey, Jen, it's Matt. So there's kind of a lot happening in New York right now. Some pretty powerful people are trying to kill me. And, you know, a Hulk would make this real easy to deal with. So, you know, if you're not too busy, maybe you could come to New York for like a weekend and you know, we could take down Fisk. Maybe what's your cousin Bruce Banner doing? You know, do you think he could come help out? Because 2 Hulks would have this dealt with in like a couple hours. It probably wouldn't be that hard for Matt to find Miss Marvel, right? Take up Mr. Khan on his dinner offer, go meet his family, and be like, you're Miss Marvel. I can smell it on your bracelets or whatever. Anyway, I know you're Miss Marvel, you're a superhero. Can you come help me out? What? You worked with Captain Marvel? And what? You worked with Nick Fury? Well, that's great. Like, that's absolutely something that can help out here. Or, you know, just like put him in a crystal box. He's strong. He's probably not that strong. It's the classic MCU thing, kind of going all the way back to like Iron Man 3. Why isn't anyone else helping out with this? Why doesn't the hero just call for some backup? For, you know, the specific situation in Born Again, a Hawkeye, an Avenger. Could he not have come out and been like, hey, this Wilson Fisk guy, a well-known criminal, and I had to help take him down a few years ago on Christmas. Yeah, he can't be mayor. Like, do you think Hawkeye could have just gotten together with Captain America, who's hanging out with the president not too long ago, and just been like, yeah, we're vetoing this. This criminal, he cannot be the mayor, and he can't be doing what he's doing. We're not letting that happen. Again, I love this story, and I want them to keep it grounded and street level, and I'm excited. I'm really excited for a really good story. But just like everything else related to comics, you can't help but think about all that stuff. Couldn't all the problems be solved very quickly if we just did like this one simple thing? But if we do that, we don't get an interesting, fun story. And that's just comics, so. I know I just talked a lot of shit on this show, and I stand by all of it, but I did really like the show. I think this is probably one of the best MCU shows so far. I think if you wanted to argue Loki is better, that is very valid, and I don't think I could say you're wrong. But for me, this is very much my shit, and this is what I want more of. I've been wanting more Daredevil ever since season 3 ended. I'm just happy it's back. Okay, thanks. See ya.